Hi guys, welcome back to the Chat Club podcast. I am so excited because this episode is it's just crazy. I cannot believe you're here. Thank you so much. Okay, so I need to know how to pronounce your last name.
Yeah, it's just Plant.
Okay, thank you. That's what I thought. I was like, I think her last name is Plant, but I don't know. And like Faith is like, maybe it's like Plante.
I wish it was Plante. That'd be so cute. But no,
No.
It's just Chan Plant.
Okay, Chan Plant is with us, and you guys might know her from TikTok or Instagram or wherever your socials are. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Gosh. You guys don't even know. First of all, you flew all the way out to Arizona to be here.
I mean, you drove.
I did drive.
Yeah, from 2 hours. That's crazy.
Yeah, I can drive. No big deal.
Oh my gosh.
No big deal. It's so funny. Whenever I get on the road, Arizona decides it's going to rain today. Why not? Why not?
Was it raining?
Just a little bit. And it hasn't rained like all year. I'm like, okay.
Interesting thing about Arizona that I found out, you guys don't do time changes.
Yeah, no. We don't do daylight savings. It's the best, actually.
That is the best.
I think everyone should follow suit.
Yeah, agreed. Because I'm sitting here and I'm like on the phone with my dad. I'm like, well, like we're 2 hours behind. He goes, no, you're an hour behind. I'm like,
isn't that so great?
That's so great. I was like, great. Then I'm not going to like, my body's going to know when dinner is. I don't know.
Yeah, it's so Arizona to just be like, no, we're not doing that actually. No, sorry.
Oh my God. I love Arizona.
It's so happy.
It's great.
It's great. Good vibes.
Yeah. So we're gonna just like dive and like
Let's
dish.
do it.
And
Let's
like
dish.
Yeah. If anybody doesn't know, Chandler has it's a chronic illness.
Yeah.
Do you want to like tell people who don't really know?
Definitely. So there's not really a name that we know for this chronic illness. Essentially, I contracted COVID, the original strain, back in December of 2020. And then I started having all of these weird symptoms. I started having numbness in my forearms. I started having really bad headaches, which I had never had before. And a few months later, after this onset of symptoms, I had my first stroke, and it was initially misdiagnosed as anxiety, and I had another stroke a few months later because of that. So the doctors ended up finding out that I had developed all of this inflammation in my brain, and it was actually causing my internal carotid arteries to compress and become what they call critically stenosed, which is really, really small. Fancy talk for really, really small. Your internal carotid arteries are supposed to be 4 millimeters in diameter. Wow. Mine were 0.5.
Whoa.
Yeah, really, really bad. So they were able to rectify that by putting stents in those arteries to hold them open. Yeah, coronary stents. But then the inflammation eventually traveled behind my eyeball. And you can't put a stent in an optic nerve. So that's what led to me losing vision in my right eye another couple of months later. And we don't really have a ton of answers other than all of this inflammation seemed to have started after COVID. So we think it's just a weird autoimmune response of some kind.
That's
but
crazy.
As anyone with autoimmune weirdness knows, it can be a real mystery. So we're still trying to get to the bottom of it. And just trying to stay positive in the meantime.
Yes. We've been like chit-chatting for like an hour or so. Yeah, like I feel like we're best friends.
Yes,
like
we are.
No, for real. I'm like, oh my God, like we're like, it's like star-crossed. Like,
it is. It's so great.
So I want to like get to know what your life was before pandemic, and like what was like, so what's your kind of like your background?
Oh, I love that. So pre-pandemic, that's such a good question. It's hard to remember what I was like when I was still healthy almost, because my life has just changed so much. I was in school studying to be a writer. I wanted to do magazine journalism, and that's what I currently do. So success.
Awesome.
And I was a dancer.
Oh, wow.
I danced a lot. I teach dance now to little kids. Cool. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things ever. But yeah, I I don't think I was nearly as positive. I definitely think I've become a better person, but pre-pandemic Chan was just not as concerned with any of this stuff.
Right. I mean, you were like a normal teenager, normal young adult.
Exactly. I look back and like I think I was a little bit more self-centered for sure.
Yeah.
I think I've grown a lot.
Right.
Like I have a lot of compassion for myself before the pandemic. I really was just doing my own thing, but I was not nearly as considerate or empathetic. I didn't have the perspective I have now, and I wasn't really as happy as I am now because of that. So when I look back at a healthy Chan, you'd think I'd miss her, but I kind of don't.
Right. Yeah. I think that's just like growing up in general.
True,
I mean,
facts.
like reflecting on me at 20 years old, like,
Right?
girl, I do not miss him. Like, I do not. Like, I'm like, oh my god, just like because you're so naive and you're just like you don't have like as much life experience. What was childhood like for you?
Yeah. So I grew up in a military family, so we were always moving around a lot. We eventually ended up in Arizona when I was in 8th grade or so.
Oh, okay.
But I was the oldest, the oldest sibling, oldest siblings
Ooh,
rise.
Yeah.
And I was very into books. I was very into like fantasy. I was always writing like stories about fairies and mermaids and that kind of thing.
Oh my god, you and me both.
Yes.
yes. Yeah.
All my like former teachers will tell you that. Just like kind of a Hermione Granger type nerd, like very by the book, loved rules. I had a lot of anxiety as a kid that I struggled with a lot.
Okay.
Like very, very badly. Kind of peaked around middle school. I did a lot of ballet as a kid too.
Wow, really?
So that was hard. It was wonderful. It was a great outlet, but also like I had a lot of pressure that I put on myself.
Right.
So I was just kind of a stressed out little kid. You know? Like I loved my rules. I loved my order. And I didn't have that all the time because we were just up and moving around,
right.
you know?
Yeah. And like the anxiety, I'm sure like could come from like just like not really feeling like secure in your location, you know what I mean? Because you're just like moving around a ton.
Totally. I ended up like getting an OCD diagnosis when I was like 12 years old, and that was manifesting when I was like as young as like 4 or 5, you know? I would tell my mom like whenever we would move somewhere, I'd be like, I need my 5 dresses. I need my 5 this or that or the other. Because I was always counting. That was like my thing, counting and checking. So we kind of started to piece those clues together when I got a little bit older and things started getting a little bit more real, and dance and writing and all of those things were kind of ways that I used to cope. So that's who I was as a kid, and you know, a bossy older sister.
Awesome. How many siblings do you have?
I have 2 younger siblings.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh my god. Okay.
My little brother Adam and my little sister Chauncey.
Oh my, cute.
Chandler and Chauncey.
That is so cute.
Yeah.
I just want to say, so Chandler is like one of my favorite names.
Really?
Yeah. So okay. So like I'm not a writer. Okay. But I do write.
I love it.
Yeah. And so I'm obsessed with the show Charmed. I don't know if you've heard of it. Yeah, no, it's okay. And so it's basically about like 3 witches, sisters. Obsessed.
Love.
And anyway, so I would like write fan fiction. Anyway, yeah.
Stop.
No, literally like Tumblr fan fiction.
Stop.
And one of my characters' names was Chandler.
No way.
Yes. And I was like, oh my god, obsessed. Yeah.
I'm so honored.
Yeah.
That's
oh my
amazing.
god. No, that's so funny. But like Chauncey, what a beautiful name.
Yes. Adam kind of got the short end of the stick. No, I'm kidding. Like, no way. My parents just gave up. They were like, whatever. Chandler,
That's hilarious.
Chauncey, and Adam.
Oh my god. So you're a writer, and
I'm a writer now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So okay. So you're a journalist.
Yes.
Yes, that's amazing.
Can you even believe it?
I'm so jealous. No. So you went to school.
Yeah.
To be a journalist.
I went to school to be a magazine journalist, and I loved it. Loved all my classes. I really feel like writing is a big calling of mine.
Awesome.
It's just something I've always wanted to do ever since I was a little kid, clearly.
Yeah.
And this is something that lets me do it every single day as a career.
Right.
How lucky am I?
That's
you know?
awesome.
So that's what I do during my 9 to 5 when I'm not doing social media and talking about my eyeball.
No, we
great.
love that though.
We love that.
We love that.
Yeah, I'm very lucky.
So what, like, okay, so you were going to school.
Yeah.
And you went to school in
Syracuse, New York.
Okay.
Which is way upstate. I was kind of telling you before.
Yeah.
I had no idea what upstate New York was before I went. I was applying from Arizona, so I thought it was basically the same thing as New York City, right?
Right, New York,
No.
New York. Got it. Yes. Like
anyone who's like anywhere near upstate New York knows it's so different from the city.
Right.
It's like hours and hours away. It's freezing cold. It's a whole different culture. Like just not the same at all.
Right.
So that was a huge like adjustment for me personally, but the classes were amazing. The teachers were fabulous.
Oh, good.
Everything about that was wonderful, and it enabled me to do everything that I set out to do. So
Right.
spoiled. Totally spoiled.
So were you out there like alone?
I was out there alone. My parents helped me move in. And that was kind of it.
That's scary.
It was really scary. Like looking back, I'm proud of myself for taking the leap and doing that.
For sure.
It felt easier because I had been moving my whole entire life. So I was like, why wouldn't I do
What's
that right
another
now?
move?
Yeah,
What's
what's
another
another move? No problem. People would ask me like, why are you here like so far away? Like, why'd you come so far? I'm like, oh, I guess you're right.
Do you know what it's giving? It's
What?
giving Bella Swan. Yeah, it's giving Bella Swan. Like,
was it where was she from?
she was from Phoenix.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, like, wasn't there an Arizona
Yeah,
thing?
like Phoenix, and she like had the little cactus like
That's
going to
so-
like Washington.
That was
State.
me. I was Bella AF. Like little me in my apartment. Well,
That's
no, in
so
my
funny.
dorm room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like,
And freezing.
and you have like the girl who's like, if you're from Arizona, why aren't you tan?
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. And I had no idea. I didn't even own like a coat. You know what I mean?
Right.
I had to like really figure it out. And Syracuse is freezing cold.
Wow.
Freezing cold actually like
So is it close to Canada?
Yep,
No.
yep. You got it. You nailed it. It is virtually Canada. Like
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So we
It's
took like a trip, like a family trip, a few years ago. We like went to Canada and then through New York. So we probably drove
fun.
through it. I'm not sure.
You might have.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's stunning.
Yeah.
Those Syracuse winters are just dark and they are long. That's the only thing.
Jeez.
And so, yeah.
Well, you were telling me earlier that you like one of your moves was Alaska.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. That's also cold and dark.
When I was younger, we lived in Alaska. I think I was like 7 years old.
Oh wow. Okay.
But one of the fun things about Alaska is in the summer, it's light
All
all
the
day.
time.
So that I loved.
You know what's so funny? I tell people that. Do you know? I know that from the movie The Proposal with
Yes.
Sandra Bullock. Yes. Okay. Yeah. It's so I know that, and I'm like, okay. So I remember just telling people, I'm like, you know, like fun fact, like sometimes in the summer, like it's just daylight all the time.
You're like,
And then
"Did
they're
you
like,
know?"
and then nobody believes me. And I'm like, no,
it's true.
It's like fact, right?
We had to have like the special curtains.
Special curtains,
Yeah.
yes.
As a kid, I loved it because my parents would forget that it was our bedtime.
Oh my God, because you're like, it's daylight. It's basically
Exactly.
noon.
Exactly. It was so much fun. So all of that definitely, like moving around, all that fun stuff, like prepped me for a life of change.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah.
Okay, so you were going to school in New York.
Yeah.
What year were you at when the pandemic hit?
So I was a senior, I believe. I graduated a semester early in December 2020. So
Oh wow.
that's like really in the thick of it,
Yeah.
you know? And that is coincidentally like when I got COVID actually. So
Okay.
kind of a tough time to be me, but
right, you're right. So what was your COVID like?
that's such a good question. A lot of people with long COVID, which is kind of what we call this myriad of symptoms that people deal with months and months after actually contracting the virus. They have a pretty mild case of COVID, and that was what happened with me. I had a pretty mild case. I had like kind of tightness in my chest. It was hard for me to get up the stairs, but other than that, It really wasn't anything major. It was an uncomfortable illness. It wasn't really like anything I've had before.
Right.
But I didn't have any of the fevers. I didn't have anything major in terms of like oxygen, in terms of like the heart palpitations. Everything just kind of came and went, and I expected it to resolve itself because I was 21 years old when all of this happened.
You were basically healthy.
And I'd always been healthy.
Right. And you had no other reason to think different.
Right. No weird family history.
Yeah.
No history of my own. There was no reason that anything strange should have happened to me.
Right. I mean, I remember getting COVID. I got it.
Yes.
Literally, I think I got it like a week before my wedding. Or no.
Stop.
No, I got it 4 weeks before my wedding, so I was panicking.
Wait, tell me about it.
Yeah, so it was like fine. I like felt a little weird. And Blaine's daughter, Abby, got it from one of her friends.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
It's the kids.
Yeah, I was like, thank you so much. And then I got it and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And I remember just like fever.
Yeah. Oh,
back pain like crazy.
You had the fever too.
I had fever. I had back pain like no other. Headache was insane.
Yeah.
Like it was from my whole head all the way to my neck. And I was just insanely tired.
I was very tired too. I remember though, there was like so much stigma around getting COVID.
A ton of it.
That's the biggest thing I remember is like sobbing when I got the test results back because I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so embarrassing. This is so awful. I'm going to have to tell like the one person I've been around, you know?
Right.
It was just, everyone was like, where did you get it? I'm like,
right.
I have no idea. I was very careful about trying to be in my little bubble. It had been 8 months at that point, you know, from March to, well, check my math, March to December. But we were all trying to be so careful and so good. And then to get it, and still there were no vaccines at that time.
Right.
Not at that time, not in December of 2020.
No. I mean, I don't even think they were like rolling it out for elderlies, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know, but we didn't have access to them at that point.
Right.
And I was, you know, working a restaurant job.
Right, you were like serving tables and you were like trying to like make a living and
serving
do your
tables with my little mask. None of us had ever like seen each other's faces. It was so weird. Like that time was so bizarre.
So bizarre. I just like remember meeting people with masks and then like finally seeing the mask off. I'm like, oh, that's what you look like.
Wasn't that crazy?
It's crazy. And like mask hot is a thing.
Oh, definitely.
1000%.
You see the lower half of their face, you're like, oh.
So that's what you look like. Maybe put the mask back on.
And that's kind of a flex to like, well, when you with your small bubble, when you got to like take it off. And
yes,
be
it
like,
was. Yeah, this is the real me.
Yeah.
It was like Hannah Montana taking the wig off. It really
so
was.
Funny.
Oh my
yes,
so,
that's how it was.
So your COVID experience was pretty normal.
Yeah,
like, to
pretty
say so.
normal.
You know, I was like, so after that, like, did you have any other symptoms?
Yes, I did. I would say maybe like a few weeks, maybe a month later, I was still serving tables and I started getting numbness in my arms. That was the first thing I remember. Really bad headaches, which I'd never had before, and numbness in my arms. It would get worse when I was stressed out. And it was just something I never experienced before, but not something you would think to be concerned about.
Right.
I was popping ibuprofen, Tylenol, so much all day, every day, because I just needed to do my job. I thought I was dehydrated. I thought I was stressed out. You know, I was working a lot, just trying to, you know, make my bag. I just graduated, like do my thing. I thought it'd go away eventually.
Right. And then it just like
calmed down.
Symptoms just progressively were getting worse.
They progressively got worse. And then one day, it was March 2021. So a few months after originally contracting COVID, my tongue went numb in my mouth and my entire left arm went numb as well. And that freaked me out really badly. It was late at night. Maybe like 11 p.m.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I was still living at home at the time in Arizona. And I told my mom, I was like, we have to go to the ER. Like something is not right here. Something I've learned in this journey is you usually know when something is actually off.
The body will tell you for sure.
The body will actually really tell you, because she was not wanting to take me. I love and my mom will tell you, like,
Yeah.
she sometimes feels bad about it, but it was, she was right to her point. It was very COVID-y.
Yeah.
She did not want to take me to this ER at 11 p.m.
Right.
in 2021, rightfully
Right.
so. But I just felt like something was off, and she eventually agreed. We went to the ER and I passed out.
Wow.
And they got me to the front of the line. I'll tell you that. They got me to the front of the line. I wasn't able to hold my arms up. Like, one of them kept falling down because I had that one-sided weakness.
Uh-huh.
And that's, a pretty significant sign of a stroke, which is
Right.
what was going on. I was having my first stroke.
Yeah.
But because of my age, I was only 21.
Okay.
So the hospital didn't know to check me for an ischemic stroke, which is what was happening.
Right.
Although they should have.
So what did they say it was?
Anxiety. They said it was a vasovagal syncopal episode, which is usually brought on by anxiety.
Anxiety, yep.
And that was the reason for my numbness, and that was the reason for my blood pressure crashing, and so on and so forth. And it was interesting because that was kind of affirming for me to hear in the moment, because it's the first time I ever got medication for my anxiety, which I do have.
Okay, right.
And I did need.
Yeah.
But also I was having a stroke.
Right. And that's like a big part of it.
Absolutely. I feel like, looking back, I shouldn't have had to feel lucky to get
Right.
anxiety meds. Like,
Right.
I should have been treated for the stroke I was having and had the mental health care that I needed way earlier as a young woman.
Right.
And I'm a young white woman. Like, I have an immense amount of privilege. So,
Right.
For this to happen to me with my mom in the room as well is so scary.
Yeah, that's terrifying. The medical system is really wild when you really get in the thick of it.
Definitely.
Like, you think about it, you think that you have an issue, you go see a doctor, and then you get treated.
Absolutely.
Like, that's just like what you think, and that's what your expectations are and should be.
Absolutely.
And you don't really think about, like, going into a room and, like, a doctor not really understanding or hearing what you're telling them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I didn't know anything about how to advocate for myself. I mean,
you're 21.
I was 21. I didn't know anything about strokes. I didn't even know what a stroke really was.
Or, like, what to look for.
Yeah. I didn't know the acronyms that I know now. I didn't know the signs. I didn't even know that I was sick, or that I was going to be sick for the rest of my life.
Right.
Because I had always been the healthy one, quote unquote.
Right.
That was like my whole thing. I had always been the
yeah.
kid that didn't get sick. Like, that was
Right.
my little reputation in my family.
Yeah.
That's out the window now. Damn it.
Right.
But because of that, I ended up having another stroke 3 months later. And people always say, I hope you sued. I hope you should, you should sue for that. But I have no existing damages from that specific stroke. So there's actually nothing you can do.
Right.
Maybe. But
Yeah.
that's a whole lot of time and money
Right.
and energy that I don't have. And it's not going to fix this very systemic problem that exists.
So you were saying earlier, and we won't get into it. But you had your second stroke.
Yeah.
You had a male with you.
Yes.
Who had a really good understanding about, like, medical.
Yeah.
So did you see a different treatment when you were with a male?
Definitely. Anytime I've had a man with me, I've been treated better by the medical system. I think a lot of people can probably relate to that, whether it's my dad, like, whether, it's just a male friend, like, whatever the case may be. Like, I get more time with my doctors. I get more attentive doctors.
Wow.
It's usually very hard for me to be taken seriously unless I make a very active case for myself. I've printed out full timelines, highlighted, and handed them to my doctor because I'm so afraid that I'm going to forget something, that they're not going to read my charts.
Right.
I mean, I've had doctors straight up not read my charts before. And
That's crazy.
love my doctors. I love my nurses.
Yeah.
I love everyone who's a part of my existing team. But this is just the way that the system is. You know, insurance companies want doctors to see as many people as possible. So at the end of the day, if you've never been, you know, a part of this system before, you get 10 minutes, like tops, absolute tops. So if you make a mistake, you know, if the doctor's not hearing you, we were talking about the difference between listening and hearing.
Yes.
Like, that's it for you.
That's
especially
it for you.
When you have a complicated case like me and you need a lot of people working together and listening and putting the pieces together. It's just very difficult.
And like building that team is so hard.
Absolutely.
And it's time consuming.
Especially because you're always getting referred to a different specialist.
Right.
And so whenever I have a man there that can advocate for me, even if they don't know what's going on with me, which, because I am an expert in what I've been going through, I'm very put together.
Right.
I have my timeline.
I mean, you have to be.
Yeah, you have to be. Because it's life or death sometimes, to be completely honest with you. And that's not an exaggeration. That's not hyperbolic.
Right.
Even if these men don't know left from right, the doctor's going to hear them for whatever reason.
Right.
And I don't know
That's
why.
Crazy.
And especially with my dad, when he comes in to my doctor's appointments with me in his military uniform, you know,
right.
like, boom, they're there.
Boom,
They're
there
listening. It's interesting. It really is incredible to see in this day and age, but I think a lot of women can probably relate to that.
Oh, I'm sure.
Maybe more than women.
Yeah, no, for real. Just like anybody who is just, you know, not the norm.
Exactly.
Norm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, I wanted to talk about like your time in the hospital.
Yeah.
Because I was like watching your TikTok.
Yes.
And you were making a video about the holiday season.
Yes.
Yeah. And like how it can be like scary and lonely and like dark sometimes because you were in the hospital.
Yes. I was in the Mayo Clinic for Christmas and New Year's of, I guess that would have been, oh man, 2022.
Okay.
So New Year's, like turning 2022.
Right.
That was the first time that I started posting on TikTok for real.
Okay.
For realsies.
Yeah.
And it was really sad because the Mayo Clinic is 2 hours away from my hometown. And like I said, I'm the oldest. So my parents still had my 2 little siblings to look after. And they had to make it Christmas for them. And they had to make it not so miserable for them. I talk to my siblings all the time about how they felt when all of this was happening.
Yeah.
Because I'm really worried that I traumatized them a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
And they swear that I didn't. They swear.
Yeah.
They swear they're just more confused. But my parents had to be there for these kids. You know,
Absolutely.
they were babies and they deserved a Christmas. They deserved a holiday. And I was barely conscious for a lot of this. I was on a lot of pain meds. Like, I was getting a lot of surgeries done. So I spent that Christmas alone, you know, 2 hours away from home. And my mom had driven up and brought me a stocking the night before, you know, and a little like freezer pack full of like frozen raspberries because we eat them every Christmas.
Oh,
presents to unwrap. But it was really kind of a rock bottom for me because the holidays just really have a way of making you realize, okay, I'm not living the same life as everyone else.
Right.
For New Year's, I tried to decorate my hospital bathroom.
Oh, cool.
I wanted to like blow up balloons and have streamers. I had this whole vision in my head. I go puffed all the stuff, like a little app, you know.
To the hospital?
To the hospital.
That is crazy. That's so funny.
But then I was on so many wild pain meds. I had these like deflated helium balloons, nothing to blow them up with. And I was just like passed out.
Oh my gosh.
My nurses were like, this girl, like she needs to get out. This is a cry for help. I think I taped like 2 little streamers.
Oh my God. And you're like, there it is.
They were like, oh girl, this is not good.
So were there any like positive times in the hospital?
So many positive times in the hospital. My nurses were wonderful. My family, whenever they came to visit, were great. I've had friends bring me like banana bread.
Oh my God, yum.
My mom, she's so great. Like she'd bring me a yoga mat to like do my little stretches.
Oh, cool.
There's so many times I can remember exactly what music I was listening to. Lana Del Rey, a lot of Lana Del Rey. I would sketch out like the apartment I wanted, because the only hope keeping me alive was, okay, one day I'm going to be able to get out of this. I'm going to be able to work out again. I'm going to be able to live in my own apartment.
Right.
Those were kind of the things keeping me going. And I'm going to be able to drink iced coffee.
Oh my God.
My blood pressure and like my heart rate, it was so all over the place. I just wanted to be able to like wake up, drink my iced coffee, go to the gym, and live in an apartment, which is a big ask.
Live a normal life.
Live a normal ass life.
Yeah.
So I would listen to my music. I would read my little books, like all those things, and just try not to lose myself completely, because those were some long days when you're spending 2 weeks in the hospital. I mean, oh my goodness gracious.
Right.
Like,
I mean, it can feel like a lifetime.
it really can.
So you get discharged from the hospital.
Yes.
So what was that like? Like, what did they tell you
gosh.
from that point on?
Which time?
Oh, geez.
Well,
okay.
yeah. I mean, the first time I got discharged from the hospital after my first stroke, that's probably the one I remember the most, because that was the first time I'd ever been admitted to a hospital before.
Okay, yeah.
And I felt the biggest relief in the world.
Yeah, you're like, finally I'm out.
First time was the hardest for sure. I felt so gross, and so I remember taking a video of myself talking to the camera, all Good Luck Charlie style. And I was like, I just feel like I'm not going to get my life back the way I want to for a while. That's what I remember saying. And I was correct. I did not get my life back for a while.
Yeah.
I did eventually, though. And that's worth saying.
Right. Absolutely.
I did eventually get it back, but it took some time. And I was kind of aware of that. I got to hug my dog. I got to take a shower. Those were the biggest things. But they had just told me that it was, anxiety.
That's crazy.
At the time. So the time where we figured out it really was a stroke and there were some things that were going to happen, I was kind of like, there's a long road ahead of me. And it was a sigh of relief to be able to hug my dog and sleep in my bed and not have all the alarms going off and getting my blood drawn at 3 a.m. But like, I was just very acutely aware that there was a lot more to go.
It was kind of like the beginning of your journey.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And you just want it to be the end.
Right. Absolutely. Because you're like, because you just want normalcy at that point.
Yeah.
You said that you started posting on TikTok.
Yeah.
So what has that been like for you?
It's been great. I mean, in the beginning, I was just posting so that my family and my friends would understand what was happening to me, because Facebook posts felt a little cringe.
Yeah.
I've gone back, I've deleted them. I'm like, oh my, that's so embarrassing. Hey everyone, so I lost vision. Like, like, how do you say that?
Yeah, right.
So I was like, all right, TikTok's inherently more casual, I feel.
Yeah, and it's more convenient.
It's more convenient. Like my grandma's on there. She follows me very closely.
Yeah.
Shout out Grammy. Hey girl, love you. And so that's who I was originally posting for. And I remember telling my friend before anything went viral, I really feel like this is a good thing I've got going on.
Yeah.
I really love this TikTok thing, because I just love to chat.
Right.
So it was a way for me to kind of document what was going on. It was a way for me to keep connected with the people in my life. And eventually the first video that blew up was me packing a hospital bag.
Oh, really?
And it was so funny because at that point I had already been admitted several times. So I was not new to this.
Yeah.
But people didn't know my story. So they were like, this girl thinks she's staying at a hotel,
And you're like, no, like, this has been my life.
I was like, no. And then I went on to be admitted for like 2 weeks, I was
Right.
like, yeah.
Oh my God.
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, you're like, I am experienced.
Yeah. Tap in, take notes. But it was great. I mean, obviously there are some internet trolls, especially now that I've developed more of a visible disability. People like to make, they want to try to launch their comedy career on the back of my eyeball, but like, sorry, babe, it's not gonna happen.
Lame.
You're not funny.
That's giving lame energy.
It's giving lame. It's giving you're not very funny.
No.
It's giving like I don't know. I'm here to make eyeball jokes all day. Like that's great.
Yeah.
But blatantly making fun of someone like stating the obvious. I'm like, okay, girl, yeah, like obviously I can't see. Like you got me there.
Yeah,
you're
like,
know.
okay.
Tell me something I don't know.
Right.
But you know, that's something I've kind of had to learn to deal with. But the majority of people on TikTok are actually women, and they're fabulous.
Awesome.
And they inspire me, and they've taught me how to navigate the space in a very real way.
Right.
A lot of them deal with chronic illness, or they deal with pain, or they've dealt with very difficult experiences. So, you know, as much as I think I may have like helped other people, they have inspired me immensely. It like makes me emotional.
Oh my God. Yeah.
No, they've helped me so tremendously. It's really special.
I mean, I've shared with you the things that like my husband and I went through, and how much like a positive and optimistic person that you are on the internet. And I think that's just so special. Like, where did you find that positivity and that optimism?
That's so sweet. It's something I had to get better at. And it kind of became a survival instinct for me because life was getting really, really dark really quickly.
Yeah.
And some days all I had were those funny interactions with my nurses. Like that was the highlight of my whole entire day.
Yeah.
And then it was just sleeping in pain, a lot of pain, physical and emotional. So it became a way for me to want to be here.
Right.
Honestly.
Right.
And I think that positivity is a muscle, and the more that you use it, the stronger it becomes. I've always tried to be a happy person, but I feel it now.
Yeah.
Genuinely and more authentically than I ever have in my life. And I think I have this experience to thank for it. Not that it makes it worth it.
Right.
But I think that's how it all came about. I remember asking my mom, I'm like, have I always been this way? And she was like, no. I'm like, damn. Okay. I was like, I thought it was kind of like whatever.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I think that like you, to be someone who is so positive and someone who has like a really optimistic outlook on life, you have to go through some dark times. You have to have a lot of darkness to find the light. You know what I mean?
That's well said.
Yeah. And so I think that like the journey that you've been on probably helped tremendously. And because the journey that you've been on comes with a lot of dark times, as you said.
Yeah.
Since TikTok, how has your life changed?
That is a great question. I mean, TikTok has changed everything for me, which is so wild to say because it's just an app.
Right.
People have encouraged me to find certain specialists. I mean, there's been some very tangible logistical changes in my life thanks to TikTok. People have encouraged me to inquire about certain medications. I don't use TikTok as like my doctor, but when you're doing a lot of your own research, when you're dealing with medical mystery, when you still don't have a ton of answers, it is absolutely helpful to hear from other people and what they've been through. So a lot of those things go into my own research. I have TikTok to thank for that. A lot of positivity, a lot of hope, a lot of inspiration, but also TikTok has enabled me to move on from just being sick and just being someone who is going through chronic illness. Now I make videos about makeup and eye patches and how I'm navigating, you know, after all of this horrible, awful stuff.
Right.
And people still want to hear about it. People are still interested in it. People are still supporting.
Yeah. And
that's really, really special. It's made me realize maybe I can do more than I thought I could originally.
Right. Like I told you when I met you, you're just such a captivating person. Like your energy is contagious. Like it's amazing. And I think that like when you said, you know, this is a medical mystery. I am doing a lot of research on my own. That is not abnormal for someone who is going through a medical mystery, because like you're going to multiple doctor's appointments and you're getting no answers. And sometimes like they're going to refer you to another specialist who would have all the answers and they just don't.
Yeah.
And so in the meantime, it's not abnormal to like be like, listen, I'm going to take matters into my own hands and I'm going to look into all of this and like maybe somebody has the answer.
Yeah. And how much pressure is that to put on yourself?
Exactly. And like at your age, like you're 20, you're 24 now, and like
Yeah.
like at the time, and you know, you're still going through it, and that's crazy.
It is so wild. I would have thought I'd have a more significant answer by now. But also a part of me is like, I don't think this even has a name beyond long COVID. I think that my honest opinion on what happened is that COVID triggered a very bizarre autoimmune response. So I'm not really caught up in what do you have, what is the name.
Right.
Not everyone agrees with me. I know my dad is very concerned about finding out what this is, putting a name to it.
Yeah.
You know, because
Right.
that there's some power in that and there's
Absolutely.
some closure in that.
Absolutely.
But I just don't even think that we have those answers yet, to be completely honest with you. And that's why I think long COVID research is so important. That's why that's something that I think we need to continue to look into, because there's so many people that are still dealing with the repercussions of COVID.
Yes. Like there is a ton of people who were living normal lives and living healthy, and the moment they got COVID, it triggered something within their body.
Absolutely. And this happens a lot with autoimmune things and viruses. It doesn't have to be COVID necessarily, but you see this a lot. I mean, it's not unknown. And people ask me a lot about vaccines and things like that. But, you know, all of this happened before vaccines were even available. And I was talking to you before about being in the ER during COVID and seeing all the damage that COVID was doing. Yeah. Seeing doctors walk past me saying, another dead patient in my room, like I need another one, or nurses on the phone saying, I'm quitting tomorrow, because it was just so horrific.
Yeah, it's just so taxing.
People have forgotten the devastation that COVID itself caused. I'm not here to discredit any legitimate vaccine injuries, absolutely, but COVID caused so much pain and so much havoc and so much death. I mean, actually.
Yes. And hundreds and thousands.
And people really, really forget. And I haven't. And it's still traumatic to me. And that question still kind of like rubs me the wrong way a little bit, because, you know, this isn't a joke to me. Like,
this is your life.
This is my life, and I need the research to get better. I need the long COVID research in order to heal. So
you're doing a treatment currently.
I am.
So what is the treatment?
The treatment that I'm on currently, I've done a lot of them. So things I've tried before I get into what I'm on currently. I've done radiation, which helped initially, but it doesn't stop flare-ups.
Okay.
Such is the nature of inflammation.
So what's your flare-ups look like?
My flare-ups look like my eye coming further outside of my head. We call that proptosis.
Okay.
So that's essentially what my flare-ups look like. My eye gets more red, gets more irritated, gets more painful. That's a flare-up. My whole body feels worse. So I've done radiation, I've done spinal taps, I've done corticosteroids, also called prednisone.
Love her.
Yes. I've done decompression in the form of a craniotomy, which is where they drill into your skull, take some things out. I've done biopsies. That's this little scar here. And now I am taking methotrexate, which is an immunosuppressant that you take orally. And then I also do immunotherapy in the form of rituximab, which is an infusion that I take every 3 months. And that is closer to a chemotherapy med.
Okay.
It's essentially a way to shut down half of your immune system that it doesn't attack itself.
Right.
Scary. Very scary, but not when your immune system is in overdrive, which I've learned, because I was really, really nervous to do rituximab. I did not want to do it. I was kicking and screaming and dragging my feet.
Right.
And then when I did it, I was like, why haven't I been doing this the whole time?
Right.
Because it hasn't necessarily made my eye look a million times better, but it has One made my flare when I was having a bad flare up. It made the flare up better.
Oh, good.
It made my eye go back inside of my head. And then it's also prevented any future flare ups.
Wow.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anything will be able to actually make the eye go back in permanently. People always ask, why don't you just take it out?
I was going to ask you about that because you've
Yeah.
been pushed by doctors, right?
Yeah.
To get it surgically removed.
Yeah, people ask why I don't take the eye out, and it's mostly because all the inflammation would still be there. I could take the eye out and it would be an aesthetic fix, but that's an enormous, it's called an enucleation when you take your eyeball out. That's an enormous surgery to endure when I currently don't have any pain. And the only thing I would really get from it is less proptosis in my eye. My eyelid would still be down.
Okay.
I still wouldn't have movement because the inflammation behind my eyeball is all up in there.
All up in there.
And they can't remove all of that inflammation because it's connected to so many nerves. It's within my entire orbit. It's not just
That's
like one
crazy.
little tumor.
Yeah.
Not that one little tumor would be easy to remove either,
Right.
but it's like a big sticky marshmallow. It is an incredibly
so it's
hard.
like entangled in everything.
It is. And to go in there, open me up, cut all this stuff out, I mean, that makes inflammation worse too.
Right. And you're opening up a whole new realm of complications.
Exactly. When I currently am pain-free, people want me to take the eye out because it would look cooler to them. That's the cold hard truth. But it wouldn't do anything for me. It really wouldn't. It would
it's like,
make it flatter.
Right. And you're like, okay.
I'm like, all right, that seems like a lot.
That seems like a really traumatic thing to put your
Yeah.
body through and emotionally you through
Yeah.
just for somebody else's
Exactly.
pleasure. I don't know. Weird.
Exactly. And to be honest, no doctor would do it unless I was in pain anyway.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, which is great. If I ever was in pain, I mean, sure, take it out. Why not?
Yeah.
I have
But you're pain free.
I'm currently pain free.
So how long have you been pain free?
That's a great question. Maybe like a year or so
That's
now,
great.
which is amazing.
That's amazing.
It's so the greatest gift ever. Anyone with chronic pain, chronic illness.
Yes.
Y'all know being able to go to bed and wake up and not deal with pain is the greatest gift in the entire world. I think that's the number one thing that's made me a more positive person.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Like the pain was horrific for a really long time. Having your eyeball pushed out of your head is not easy.
Right.
It feels horrible. I remember just like holding my hand over my eye. I'd get like soda cans and just hold them over my eye and just try to get the pain to stop. It felt like a big headache, like a migraine, just right on your eye. It was horrible. And it was relentless is the thing. When you don't have a break and you can't foresee a break, it makes things really dark.
Absolutely.
So it's easy to see the light now.
So you have recently been getting into eye patches.
Yes.
Which I am obsessed
Yes.
with. What, okay, it's like, do you have a favorite?
I do. Do I?
I do.
I think the rose eye patch is currently my favorite, but the porcelain one that I just got
Beautiful.
is also really great. I recently had an eye patch painted to look like porcelain because I'm on this whole journey about trying not to see my body as broken.
Yeah.
So porcelain is fragile, but it's not broken.
Yes.
I really like that one. And then the rose eye patch is kind of the one that started the whole journey. So she makes me feel really confident. I like her. What's your favorite?
My favorite is the Kill Bill one.
Ah!
It's so good. It's so good.
God, I love that that's your favorite.
I'm like, oh, because you're like, you got it for Halloween, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and you were like, I'm gonna wear it out, and I'm like, yes.
Yes.
It was so good.
That's an underrated one.
Oh my god, no, it's my favorite.
I did not think you were gonna
Oh
say
really?
that one.
Oh my god, no,
No.
Kill Bill is so good. It's like one of my favorite
That's
movies.
so funny. That's the actual first one I ever wore out ever.
Oh really?
Because I soft launched eye patches on Halloween. I wore it as El
Soft launch.
Driver,
That's so funny.
on Halloween, and everyone was so wonderful to me because they didn't even realize I was blind.
So how has because you're feeling better.
Yeah.
You're putting yourself out there
Yeah.
more. So how has been dating life?
Yeah.
Social life? Just
Definitely.
going out?
Definitely. It's Interesting. It's a lot different for sure. But I think it's because I'm a lot more protective of myself. I know that there's a lot of not great people out there, and I don't want to deal with that. For all of my bubbliness and warmth, like, I think I can be a little bit cold just because, like, so much not great stuff has happened.
Just like trauma. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm really used to just shutting it down and keeping it moving. And that's not the greatest for relationships and friendships and things like that.
Right.
My friends have been incredibly uplifting and wonderful. And I actually think like friendships are one of the biggest things that have helped with my healing.
That's
like,
great.
They've lifted me up.
Yeah. I was going to ask, like, how is your support system then, and how is it now?
Yeah. I mean, all my friends kind of evolve. Some have like stayed with me throughout time, but you know, we're adults, so everyone's kind of moving and grooving and, you know, getting in relationships and different life milestones.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's great. But everyone has been lovely and supportive for the most part. Some people kind of need a moment to understand and contextualize chronic illness. So sometimes you need to like give people a second, or maybe just realize that you're not compatible at this exact moment in time and give them a minute to
I think that's a really good way of saying it.
Yeah.
Because like when someone's going through something like that, it can be hard for someone to understand. Yeah. And for people to be like, oh wait, like you're not going out because you don't
totally,
you know, and it's like it's just like I don't feel 1,000%, and I just don't want to. Yeah.
People have a really hard time contextualizing illness. They have an easier time with the blindness because they can see it and that makes sense to them. But when I'm like, you can't be near me if you're sick, you know, or I can't go to that crowded bar, or you know, some such thing. Right. That I've noticed like is a little bit harder for some people. And usually they'll rise to the occasion. It just takes them a minute. Right. But there are like some things that are simply different when you're dealing with chronic, or like we can't have this fight right now, you know, because I have radiation in the morning. You know,
you're like listen, like because like you're the stress, like I'm sure stress just makes it 10 times worse.
Yeah, it's not like we can't ever like, you know, have a disagreement. It's just like we have some really real things happening here that we need to like remember. Right. So dating though, honestly, all the people in my life have been so uplifting and so wonderful, and I've been very spoiled and very lucky about that. Like all the men in my life have always made me feel beautiful and wonderful. I'm very lucky. The universe really like sent me some great people during this whole thing. Yeah. So I've never like, I've just been looking for people to rise to that level. Yes. Right. So I definitely have high standards. I'm a Virgo Venus. I'm very picky, you know? Yeah. I don't want to date bad people. I'm always worried that people are judging me, to be honest. I'm always thinking about what they might, you know, think about my eye, what they would have thought about me, like when I look differently, because I used to be on prednisone. I used to be a lot heavier, and people treated me differently. People treated me a lot worse, to be honest with you, when I was bigger and on prednisone than they do now with a visible disability. Like, and I always look at people and I'm like, are you someone who would treat me poorly? Are you one of those people? Right. Because I still have trauma from that, to be honest. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm looking for people who can like inspire me and bring light and
add to your life
and add to my life. Yeah. And I hope I do the same for them, because I've definitely traumatized some of these poor boys. Cool. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Sorry to them. I love y'all. I'm sorry.
God, that's so good.
You guys were great. Gosh. I'm so sorry.
So I want to talk about journalism a little bit.
Yes.
Okay, so you're a journalist.
Yeah.
And that means you get to meet some pretty cool people.
Yes.
So Kate Hudson just complimented one of your eye patches.
I can't even believe
How was that?
It was amazing. Kate Hudson is someone I adore. I used to watch her a lot, actually, during the pandemic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I used to watch a lot of her rom-coms and things like that. And she just kind of brings me back to a really lovely time. So it was funny that Kate Hudson was the person to compliment my eye patch. It was the rose one of my favorites.
Yeah.
She just has a lovely warmth, a lovely energy. And one of the things she said in our interview, going back to this whole journey I'm on about not being broken, she explicitly said to remember that you are not broken, and that's something she's going into 2024 with in terms of her wellness goals. And that just really resonated with me and was a very full circle moment.
That's awesome.
And I was like, and here I am being told I'm not broken with my cool eye patch by Kate Hudson. She's everything you see in
Nobody
the movies.
could tell you any different.
I know.
Honestly.
Seriously.
And you just did an article with Alicia Keys. How is that?
Alicia Keys is also a fabulous person. I mean, she's a very spiritual individual. She talks about that a lot, and she has the best, most positive energy. Very cool, very down to earth, like totally lovely.
Yeah.
She's just very, very cool. I felt very honored to be in her presence, but very comfortable to talk to. Honestly, I was just like chit-chatting with her. I was like, oh my God, Alicia. No way. But she's all of them are very well spoken and just like smart women, smart, powerful, inspirational women. So I feel very lucky. I was saying I get very nervous. I'm like, oh,
I know. It can be scary.
It can be scary because you don't want to say the wrong thing or use the wrong inflection and come off disrespectful, but you also want to have a real conversation and make sure that you're hearing them.
Yes.
And actually getting some real like conversation. Yeah. So I try to do my best. Yeah. I really am interested in them and who they are as people. Right. I try to see them that way and not just as like celebrities.
Right. Or a public figure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure like in journalism, like you can see how they're not just somebody in the public eye. They're a human being and they go through things.
Yeah.
But you just did an article with People magazine. How was that?
It was so nuts. One of my jobs before losing vision was with People magazine. I was writing for the music vertical and I was working for the editor-in-chief as an assistant. So that I thought at the time was the pinnacle of my career. That was going to be everything. I was going to work up the ranks at People and that was going to be it. And then I lost vision and I thought my career was over and so was my life.
Right.
And then yesterday I was in People magazine, not writing for them, fully in it.
That's crazy.
And it was the biggest full circle moment.
Right.
Just a huge reminder that like, it isn't over.
No,
it is never over.
This is awesome.
It's awesome and it's here. And there's so many times I remember my mom like looking at me in the thick of this healing process after losing my vision. Like, are you okay? And I was like, no, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
I really don't. I don't know if I didn't want to be here, but I just wanted to be anywhere else. You know, I wanted to be literally anywhere else but this particular universe.
Right.
I was like, another one. Give me another life right now. I'm tuning out of this one.
Yes.
I don't even feel connected here at all. This is too much. I don't want to suffer.
Like disassociating.
Yeah, I was disassociating. Completely. None of it felt real. I kept telling people in the hospital, like, none of this feels real. I don't want to be here. And
were they understanding or no? No.
They didn't know what I was saying. They were like, what do you mean this doesn't feel real?
And you're like, no, like this doesn't feel like my reality.
Exactly. I just felt like I was floating.
Yeah.
Everything kept happening.
Like life was happening all around you and you're just like,
exactly. Because you think like having a stroke is the biggest thing that could possibly happen to you. And then you wake up and you don't have vision. And it's like, what else?
Right.
Okay, like, what else?
What else do you have for me?
Exactly. And even now I'm like, okay, are we actually done?
Right.
There's always that fear a little bit. So I just felt like things kept happening to me, and to finally be able to breathe and be like, okay, maybe actually I do want to be here and this universe isn't so bad.
Right.
And it wasn't over. It was
Right.
just a very amazing, invaluable experience.
So one of my favorite things about you is your kind of like obsession with eyeballs. Like
What do you mean?
Yeah, right. My favorite thing is your tattoo. Oh my God.
Oh,
Yeah.
can we talk about tattoos?
Yes. Because your tattoos are beautiful.
I love talking about tattoos.
Yes. Like those are gorgeous.
Thank you.
Oh, so who did you go to?
So I went to Benny Shields.
Oh, wow.
Shout out Benny, obsessed. Benny is an incredible person.
Yeah.
I interviewed Benny Shields for an article I was doing because he designed the tattoos for a show called The Bear with Jeremy Allen White.
So good. Just won a ton of awards.
It's won a ton of awards, and Benny is so deserving of more praise. Like, he did those tattoos on Will Poulter. He did those tattoos on Jeremy Allen White, and those are a huge part of the show.
Right.
He designed all of them.
Wow.
He's an incredible artist. He's an incredible person. And I wanted something to commemorate my eyeball journey, but I didn't want it to be so serious.
Right.
I didn't want it to be so on the nose. So I told Benny kind of what had happened. I had a semblance of an idea, but not really. And
Yeah.
he came up with this. It's essentially a saint with an arrow in her eyeball.
It's so cool.
And the other side
Yes.
is a Cupid holding the bow, you know, with the arrow.
Yes.
And it says best of luck. Kind of tongue in cheek.
Yes.
Because the universe has terrible aim and a terrible sense of humor. And I just really appreciated that, like being able to have something beautiful. These tattoos
Right.
are beautiful,
Right.
ultimately, to commemorate the journey, but also, you know, it is absurd and it is funny. Like, sorry, it is funny. No way. Like, this whole thing is ridiculous.
Yeah.
If you're not able to acknowledge that, you're not going to be able to
To
make
find
it.
comedy in it is great.
You have to. Like,
you have to.
I realized that early on. I know some people don't like that and they don't really understand, but this whole thing is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. I'm very lucky to be here. I'm very
Yes.
happy to be here.
Yes.
You know, that was a journey to realize, but I am.
Right.
But like, what in the world? What in the world, universe? You have
Right.
to laugh at it, or I'm going to spend the rest of my life in a very dark place.
Dark place, absolutely.
Because it is hideous and it is traumatic. So,
Yes.
you know, you have to be
have
able to
to.
take a step back and be like, okay, arrow in the eyeball, 100%. And I just really thank Benny for helping me cope with that in a
Yes.
very beautiful, lovely way. Shout out
Yeah.
Benny forever.
Um,
I want more tattoos.
Same. I'm obsessed with tattoos.
Do you have tattoos?
Yes, I actually
What?
have. Yeah, I have 7.
Wait, where are you
Okay,
having that?
so I have.
Show me.
You're like, show me. So I have an equal sign. Okay, my first tattoos were this equal sign, and then I have one with it says "I love
What?
you,"
Look at
and
all
it's
your tattoos.
yeah, it says "I love you," and it's my mom's handwriting because I'm such a mama's boy. So I had to get a mom tattoo, and then I have a deer antler because to represent my brother. He's a huge hunter, fisher,
love that.
woodsy man, not me. He and I are completely opposite. And then I have Clarissa Marie, which are Blaine's daughter's middle names. And then I have a BT for Blaine Thomas.
Oh, these are beautiful.
Yeah, he has a
tattoos.
matching one for Brandon Thomas.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then I have one on my ribs that says "I did it my way," and it's my dad's favorite lyric from his favorite song, "My Way" by Frank Sinatra. Yeah, I love tattoos. I want more.
We have to get more tattoos.
Yes, we have to get more tattoos.
I love it.
So I kind of want to like pitch an idea for you.
Yeah.
Okay. We need an eye patch line by Chandler.
So down. Kate Hudson, if you're watching this. No.
Like literally, like I was just thinking about this. I'm like, we could make some dope ass eye patches.
And the thing is, I'm so serious. That is something I've thought about a lot because there's so many people who need functional and fashionable
Yes.
eye patches. I will look up eye patches, just like regular, comfortable black ones, and they're
Yes.
sold out.
So I was looking into eye patches
Yeah.
because I was like, oh, maybe I can like get one for her as a cool
They're so
gift.
sweet.
And like,
They're so hard to
they're
find.
so hard to, especially the ones that like, are functional for you.
Yeah.
But like for other people where it needs to have
It needs to be is it convex or concave? Give me a second.
convex, right?
Yeah.
Concave is like in, right?
I'm like, oh my God, I'm done.
No,
Yeah,
no.
I need space because
Right.
my eye is proptotic. So if
Right.
the eye patch is completely flat, it's going to cause pressure and it's going to be painful.
Right.
So that's what a lot of people don't understand. For others, they need it to be completely flat.
Right.
Because they don't have an eye there at all.
Yeah.
I need my patches usually to be leather so that they can hold their shape.
Right.
Or else they need to have some sort of padding, some sort of
Right,
something more than like elastic usually.
Right.
But I don't want them to be ugly either.
No.
No disrespect. But
No. But like, if you could like coordinate the eye patch with an outfit, like,
yeah,
groundbreaking.
exactly.
I'm sorry.
And these eye patches, I'm not going to say they're expensive because they are well worth it. But, you know, they're not cheap.
Right. They're not they're not inexpensive. They're not,
yeah. If there was a way to create a company, an eye patch company, even an accessible clothing company, in collaboration with artists, with these beautiful, I mean, even thinking to like Society 6, you know, where they make that art and you can put it on any kind of thing,
right?
And you're paying the artist, like that would be a really interesting model to kind of consider. I just don't know how to go about it. I'm like, let me call up the Sharks.
Yeah,
you know?
you're like,
hey, besties.
Yeah, right.
Do I have an idea for you? Like,
no, I honestly think like the best way to sell a product is find a hole in the market and then sell it.
Yeah, I mean, do people need eye patches?
I know, that's what I'm thinking. But honestly, can we make it a fashion statement?
Let's do the market. And the thing too, like Kim Kardashian and Lana Del Rey, they
on
just
Skims.
For Skims, like Lana Del Rey just wearing an eye patch and making it fashion. I'm like, okay, queen, love that. Oh. I do low key think they made that eye patch themselves.
Right.
Thoughts? They had to have. They had to have because it looks almost like elastic.
Yeah.
And then it looks like a actual heart that they made.
Give it to Kim Kardashian to be one step ahead of everybody.
I know. I was like, damn it, Kim.
Yeah, she's gonna
like Kim, sell me that.
Yeah, literally.
Sell me the eye patch. Skims eye patch collab. When?
Literally.
Manifesting.
So we talked about your TikTok and how you sometimes can feel compelled to share a lot of your personal experiences.
Yeah.
And like your medical journey. But I feel like there are so many facets of you that are so interesting and that like a lot of people would love to get to know. So like, what's the future for Chan with social media?
Yeah. I definitely, if people will allow me to, I would love to always, you know, my health is always going to be the foundation of what I do. It's a part of me.
Right.
My eyeball isn't my entire personality the way that people might think.
Right.
But it's a part of me and it's always going to be that way. I do, however, want to start moving to a place where I can speak about more things and I can try out, you know, doing my makeup and not talking about my latest hospital stay or whatever the case may be.
Right.
I want people to see me as a person and I want people to recognize that people in the chronic illness space, people in the disability space are more than their chronic illnesses and they're more than their disabilities. And we can have fun and we can be silly and we can talk about the things we've been through. Certainly, I plan on it still.
Right.
But also be so much more.
Absolutely.
I've always tried to do that, but that is the future for me.
Yeah.
We're doing more projects. We're going bigger and brighter and bolder.
Yeah.
We're doing beauty. We're doing People magazine interviews. I mean, we're traveling. We're doing fun things. We're doing projects. We're expanding.
That's great. And I think that people should also have more of an understanding of like, you know, you are now a personality on the internet. Yeah. And that's just like kind of how it is. And
crazy.
you're growing. Like you're going to go up from here.
That's so wild.
I know. Like you are just like going to go, you're going to continue to grow if you continue to tell your continue to do it. Yeah. As long as you continue to do it, I feel like you're going to grow.
Yeah. I just want to do it in an authentic way, always, in a funny way. Yeah. And, you know, it's because of my followers that I've been able to shift as much as I have. In the beginning, it was just me talking from the hospital.
Right.
And now I'm doing eye patch transitions, you know?
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
It's a privilege that I've been able to switch up as much as I have because it's a healing journey. That's the whole point. This has transitioned from being just about how I'm healing from my eye and people being interested in my eye to how do you go on living after doing something so hard, you know? That is what this is all about. Absolutely. So that could look like a million different things. I don't even think I really know yet.
Right. And like, and that's
excited.
the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Like, that's the beauty of it. Like, you just don't know. And that's great.
Yeah.
But, I'm just so excited.
I'm excited to find out.
I'm so excited to see you like grow and like expand.
Thank
and
you.
I think like a lot of people would love to see it.
That makes me really happy. There are so many people every day who comment and they've gone through like 10 times worse stuff than I have. Not that it's a competition at all, but it just really puts things in perspective. Like there are so many people who need like to see someone keep going. And I hope I can be that for them. But oh my gosh.
No, for real.
Oh my gosh. I feel very humbled and very grateful. Like, I'm strong, but I'm not that strong. Right.
I think that like knowledge is power. Yeah. And I think that a lot of people sharing their experiences with one another is powerful.
Yeah.
And I think the community that you have created on the internet is just beautiful, and I think that's awesome.
You know what? Can I ask you something too? Like, don't you feel like that community is so kind? I work in media, obviously.
Right.
I do social media for my job. I write for my job.
Right.
I understand how people usually act on the internet.
Yes.
And the comments I see on my TikTok page are so kind and so lovely.
Yes.
And I get like so many people every single day commenting and they're wonderful.
Yes.
And I just feel very lucky and very blessed. Like I've never seen that in any other corner of the internet and I don't know what it is.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And I think that like anybody who tries to infiltrate that will get annihilated. Like, I am not joking.
It's so great. I love when people like they're talking about their medical stuff and someone else will jump in or they talk about like sometimes people say the eye patch reminds them of Margot from The Magicians, and then all the Magicians people will get in and start talking. Oh my God. So great.
Yeah, that's so funny.
I love.
Yeah, I just think that anybody who has anything negative to say won't last long. I'm just
negativity on the internet. We have too much of it. So
too much of it, and I just think it's beautiful what you're doing.
I love that. Thank you.
God. Well, I have a little gift for you.
For me?
Yeah, for you. That it's not crazy. It's not crazy. I'm gonna get it for you.
Oh my God, what is it?
So it's merch.
What is it? Stop.
Yeah, so I got you some merch.
Stop. You're so sweet.
Yes, it's coming out soon, but I wanted to give it to you, and you're the first person to have it. Yes. Yeah, literally. Yes. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
So cute little sweat set.
What?
Yeah.
You are so kind.
Yeah.
Thank you. Look at that.
I know it's got the mouse
and
everything.
This is so cute.
Oh, good. Thanks.
This is so cute.
Thanks.
You're
yeah.
so generous and kind. Thank you.
Oh my God, of course. Yeah, matching sweats.
Stop. I needed this so badly.
Oh my God, yay.
These are amazing.
Yes.
This is nice.
Oh my God, thanks.
Yes.
Yeah. But I just wanted to like give you a little gift just to thank you for coming on to the podcast. Like for real, like you didn't have to do this and you decided.
You flew all the way out here just to speak with me.
I know. I just thought it was going to be like, it was so funny because when I DM'd you about doing it and you're like, absolutely.
Anything,
and I was like, oh my God. And then it was funny because my husband does a ketamine treatment. And so he and I are like in the treatment and he's kind of like in his like hallucinate state, right? And he goes, what if we just like flew out to her? And I was like, well, I don't know. I don't want to like be like, hey,
no.
Can I just like fly to you? And then I did. And then you were like, oh my God, that'd be so cool.
I was honestly so grateful because I am kind of like a struggle bus with technology. So
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? Actually, fly out to me.
Yeah. You're like, please. No, I was like, oh my God, cool. Because I didn't want to be like, I'm this like weird dude from the internet. Like,
No.
you know what I mean?
You do not have weird dude from the internet vibes
Okay,
at
great.
all. I knew.
Yeah. So I just wanted to, I was like, oh my God, she doesn't think I'm a freak. But you were like, it was awesome. And you were so gracious. And honestly, thank you so much for coming on.
How kind of you to have me.
Oh
This is
my God.
so lovely. You have had so many lovely things and so much wonderful insight of your own. So I really appreciate you for everything.
Well,
Seriously.
I appreciate you. Your positivity and kindness is phenomenal.
We're manifesting positivity in 2024.
Yes, we are. 2024 is going to be a good year.
It's big and it's bright. I really think 2024 is like got some crazy energy. Like,
absolutely. I feel that way too.
it's like nonstop.
Like when New Year's Day, like I felt like something kind of died and I was like, wait, is this like a transition?
Wait.
Yeah, I was like, is this a transition into something new?
Oh my gosh, that's so interesting. Because
Yeah.
2023 for me
Mm-hmm.
was very kind of stagnant almost. I felt a little stuck. I felt a little like, okay, we're chilling.
Right.
Love that.
Right.
I asked for stagnant for a really long time.
Yeah, right.
But I was like, let's go a little bit bigger. And 2024 was like, bet. Boom.
Exactly.
I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
But slay.
So where can people find you?
People can find me at Plante, CHANPLANTE,
Yes.
on most platforms.
Okay.
TikTok and Instagram, really the only ones that matter at the
nowadays.
moment.
Yes,
Unless you want to like follow me on Spotify. No.
Yes.
But yeah, that's where I'm doing a lot of my work.
Awesome.
And just trying to brighten up your day. So come hang.
Yes.
We're a very positive bunch.
I think that I think everybody should follow you because
thank
I feel
you.
like you have just so much to share and yeah. But thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for listening and watching this week's episode of the Chat Club. You can find us anywhere you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast. We're also on YouTube, youtube.com/@the-chat-club-podcast. Thank you again so much. It's been wonderful.
Yay.
Bye, guys.
Bye.